that in the Zoom classes now.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, nice. Okay, yeah. So everyone, welcome to Get 101/201, one of the End of View Hacks pre-hackathon workshops. I'm co-hosting this workshop with Melvin. Today he will be covering mostly the 201 stuff and I'll be covering mostly the 101 stuff. This will be a pretty long workshop. It's slated to be about an hour and a half. So we will have a 5-minute break in the middle just to get everyone, just to give everyone like a nice brain break and all of that. So yeah, just another brief introduction to who we are. And yeah, so we're joined today with some lovely TAs that will be helping you if you need help at any time during this workshop. I will go over quickly how to do that later. But for now, let's get started with just going through what this workshop will entail. So we are kind of just merging like two workshops that are usually held separately. So it does seem like a lot when you look at the schedule, but I promise you that we will get through all the material in no time. We'll be starting off with a brief intro to what Git is and why one would use Git and all that good stuff. And then heading off into some intermediate stuff like branches, merging, and pull requests, and then ending off with some slightly more advanced stuff, such as rebasing, merge conflict resolution, merging versus rebasing, reverting, all that good stuff. Yeah. And before we get started again, we want to give a special thanks to the following people on screen as they inspired or we adapted their amazing slides and content. So without whom this workshop would not be possible. And yeah, finally, what you're waiting for. So if you ever get stuck at any point during this workshop, please make sure to seek out a TA. We have a channel in Discord under the Git 101/201, all those channels. We have a channel called TA Assistance, which I believe you're able to just click on and then you can like react and then file a TA ticket. Or if your question is slightly more general, feel free to just ask under the channel and the TAs will be monitoring that as well. And then you can also refer to the code snippets, which I guess I will encourage you more so to seek out the first two options. And you can also refer to shortcuts if you have access to slides as well, which again are linked in chat. And yeah, before we get started, this was part of the workshop to do, but no worries if you haven't done any of these, you can go ahead and do them right now. But we just want to make sure that you have installed Git, made a GitHub account, and have downloaded Visual Studio Code before you got here. But if you haven't, don't worry, just quickly do that right now and you'll be set and ready to go. Yeah, okay, so just a quick overview and then I'll really dive into Git 101, this portion of the workshop. So just a quick refresher on what the schedule is for the first half. Okay, so yeah, let's dive into what is Git. So before we talk about that, or I guess it is part of that, but we will first introduce a concept called version control, which essentially allows us to keep track of a history of changes to software code, which is, as you can probably imagine, really useful for collaborative development. It helps us to go back and revert to older versions of our work if we ever need to, which is really useful because, you know, we're all human and sometimes we might make errors or things like that. So yeah, this is just a really cool concept. And it is important because Git is a type of version control. So what it is that it's a distributed version control system, which all that word really means, distributed, is that you can work offline. So you don't need Wi-Fi or anything. You can be working on it in the middle of nowhere if you so desire. The opposite of that would be a centralized version control system, which will need to be online. So yeah. And if you have heard the term GitHub before, which you probably have if you did the pre-workshop to-dos, you will be probably wondering like what's the difference between Git and GitHub. So I guess the way of thinking about it is that GitHub is kind of like the larger concept. It's the cloud-based hosting service that helps manages Git repositories. So Git is kind of like in GitHub. And yeah, as we mentioned before, Git is that version control, which keeps track of our code, and then GitHub is essentially like the hosting service that allows us to do all that. And you might be getting a little tired with all the definitions, so we'll just quickly go over what a repository is. So it is where all the metadata and your code is for your project is stored, and everyone has a copy of the code in their in the local repo on their own computer. So what that means is just your version of the code on your computer, and then it also has the remote repository hosted on server like GitHub. And with your local repository, within your local repository, that is where you're free to make changes to your code. Okay, so how is Git used? Yeah, before we dive into that, I kind of wanted to know if anyone uses something other than Git when they're just working with their friends on your code and all that. How do you collaborate without Git? And this, you can feel free to just shoot in the Zoom chat here or on Discord. Let's see. Okay, that is really cool. Haven't heard that yet. Yeah, carrier pigeon. Google Docs, yeah, awesome. These are all great examples. So yeah, some of them we've already stated here on the slide. So yeah, you could be using any number of those different ways to collaborate currently without GitHub. That's totally fine too, but it might get a bit tedious, especially if you are just like emailing or carrier pigeoning portions of your code to your collaborators. You might want a system that is slightly more efficient and helps you keep track of stuff a lot better. So Git helps us do that. Yeah, okay, so let's get into the 3 stages of a Git file. This is really important terminology that we want to always just keep in mind, because if we do forget a stage, stuff goes wonky, as I have learned myself. So the 3 stages in a nutshell are modifying your Git file, staging your Git file, and committing. I like to think of them as like a ready, get, set, go analogy. So with your first stage, it is your where you're just modifying your Git files. So you are making changes to your repository, but they haven't been stored yet. So that is just simply you editing your code. You want to, of course, mark those changes. So you will stage your code, and which when you enter stage 2. So this just marks your code, whatever your code is, it marks that it goes into the next commit to be stored into your repository. And then your third stage, of course, is your committing. So that is you storing your Git file into your repository. So when you're doing that, Git saves kind of like a snapshot of what your files look like. And then every commit represents the changes that you have made in the past. And you can also add details about what has been modified and who made the changes, along with a message that you can include if you want to give yourself more information about what exactly you did in that last change. Okay, so yeah, let's use Git. So feel free to just launch Visual Studio Code on your computer right now. And I will, once you've done that, I'll just open a new file. So you can join me down in the terminal. And we just want to make sure that our Git repository has been installed correctly. So we are going to type in git -- version. And if you don't see any errors or any red lines at the bottom, you have, you're all good to go. So yeah, you can see my version of Git that has been installed. And we want to make sure that our contributions are identified. So we want to configure Git, of course. So we will go into here and just type in git config -- global, forget which one comes first, username or email. Okay, username, global username, and then I wish I had a split screen today, but I do not. Sorry, a different monitor. Okay. Get big username chat. Okay. There we go. Sorry if that's a little hard to read. Let me just configure my email. Okay. And I think I was supposed to just do my username, not in quotes. Okay, yeah. So it should be all good. So git config -- list and Q to get back to where I was. Okay, so again, a refresher on those commands, just in case you ran into difficulty like I did. But yeah, once you have done that, we can finally go and create our repo. So we are going to go over to GitHub, and then we are going to go on to, okay, so we are going to click on your repository at the very top, and we are going to write basically whatever your username is here, you are going to type the same thing because we are going to be creating a profile README today. Just getting started with the basics. And you are going to click add a README file and create a repository. Mine is grayed out because I already have mine. But if you don't, you can just do that and click here. Okay, and we're good to go. Oh, and we have to clone our repository. So once you've done that, you will probably be led to a page like this once you've already created a repository. So you will click on this nice green button over here and make sure that you're under HTTPS and copy that web URL so you can clone your repository. Okay. So we want to make sure that we are under the directory that our repository is under. So if my file is under C-users123VL, for example, and it was under like documents or something, I would do CD documents just to make sure that we're under the right file and that we're making changes onto where our file actually is. So that's why it says CD folder over here. But since we are already on that, we can type in git clone and our repository link, but I'm already under that directory, which is why it says fatal. So yeah, so once we've done that, we can now edit. So we will be opening that wherever that file is on the computer. So I already have mine right here, but you'll be navigating to where it is. So under file and then open file or open folder and just navigating to where it is and finding that README. So right now, I will ask you all to feel free to fill out this or make your own kind of message that you want to share with the world. And go ahead and just do that. Currently, I think I'll give you like 2 to 3 minutes. And we will also be sending out a poll on Discord for you to react to let me know whether the workshop speed is too slow, too fast, or just right. And yeah, and while when you're done, make sure that you save your changes by clicking Control-S, which in terms of Git stages, your file is now modified and ready to go. But yeah, I'll just let you do that for a while. And I will go release the poll if it hasn't been released yet. Okay, awesome. So I will give everyone until 7:19 Okay, I think that's a little fast because the clock just switched to 7:18, but yeah, I guess 7:19 or 7:20 to make your changes, make sure that you save your changes and go from there.
Yeah, also feel free to drop any questions you might have in the Git 101, 201 section in the Discord channel.
I do see that a couple of people reacted that it was too fast since so far, so I will definitely keep that in mind as I move forward. Yeah, it will be, the recording will be posted. So we will have that uploaded to YouTube. However, it won't be uploaded before NW Hacks, so it'll be uploaded after. So yeah, sorry about that, but it will be posted. Okay, it might be up. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I see it's 7:20. So I will share my screen again and I will make a really quick edit. I hope I shared my whole screen. Okay, I think I did. That's great. Okay. So as you can see, I have my Git file here and my README over here. And I'm just going to quickly just make a change. So I'm just going to add a exclamation mark and I'm going to save my changes. And yeah, so right now I will stage my changes. So I hope everyone is all good and ready to go. But yeah, so once I've saved my changes, I will stage my changes by typing in git status. So this just tells me that I have some changes that are not staged for committing just yet, which is why I need to type in git add to add my changes, git add dot, sorry, add my changes to the to staging. And yeah, so once we've done that, we want to commit our changes because that will be the next step in our list of steps that we have to do. So we will be typing in git commit -m, and I added an exclamation mark, so I'm just gonna like make my message that, but you can make your message whatever helps you remember what you have to do or what you've done rather. So as you can see, it has my file hasn't changed and all that, so that's good. That means we're on the right track, and we want to finally just now push our changes up to the remote repository because we are editing our profile README after all, and we want to make sure that changes are evident on GitHub. But I just wanted to make a little note here that you can feel free to push after every commit, or you can just push several commits at once if that is what you like to do. So I will just push right now so you can see the changes that have been reflected. So git push. Okay, so let's go see if my changes have been made. And yay, I have an actual exclamation mark. Awesome. So that tells me that my changes have been pushed. And if you ever want to review like the changes and the commits that you've made, you can do that by typing in git log, which essentially just shows you a list of commits that you've made recently, and press Q to get back to your terminal bar. Okay, So let's move on to the next part of our workshop, which is talking about branches. So we'll be diving back into theory for a bit. Okay, so what is branching? So branching is when you diverge from the main line of development that you've already been working on and you work on a separate line. So this can be pretty useful when you just want to make a different or work on a different feature or work on a different portion of your project that doesn't really and you don't want to like make any major changes. So just in case anything goes haywire, you can always you can always, you don't have to disrupt that development of that main line. So those diagrams really just do essentially describe what branching is. So you are on that main line of development and you just branch off into another line of development. Yeah. So yeah, some things, I guess, or some examples of what you can do or what branching helps you do. So if in the case of like, if you have a bug that you want to fix, you can just create a branch, fix that, and you don't have to worry about messing up the rest of the website while you're doing that. Same thing if you want to add new features, and then you can, at the end of it, you can merge your branches onto the main branch, but we will get to that later. Okay, yeah, so just a few pros on what Git and I guess what branching helps you do. So it is really helpful if you are focusing on, as I mentioned before, like specific parts of the code and you want to like add a new feature and all that, and you don't want to really like mess things up for real. So it makes sure that you don't have to do too much work to get old code back because you are working on that separate branch. So this work that you're doing in that branch does not affect anyone else's work unless you pull those changes later, which we will get into. But essentially all you need to remember is that when you're on your branch, that work is yours. So that in turn helps you to solve any conflicts that you might later have between you and your collaborators' code. So it's just a really nice way to focus on what you are doing currently and not really worry about impeding anyone else's stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, we want to be able to do that to make new branches in our in our code. So yeah, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code and let's type in git branch and whatever we want to name our branch. So let's say I'm adding a new feature. So I will just type in that. And yeah. And before we get into actually going on the branch, if for whatever reason we want to create multiple branches and we want to view all the branches that we have at once, we can always just type in git branch. And then we can view every single branch that we've ever created. And as you can see, I have a variety. And yeah, and if we want to go to one specific branch, so for me, the branch that I just made, we will type in git checkout and feature, which is the name of the branch that we just made. So if you named your branch, you can also just type in git checkout branch. Okay, and we have switched to our branch feature. So what this means is that whatever changes that we make here are all on this branch and not on the main line of development. Okay, so I'll give everyone just a minute here to make a quick change to your README file. And yeah, maybe just add like a punctuation mark or something somewhere, and I will give everyone until like 7:28 to just quickly make that changes and make sure that you save your changes, and we'll go from there. Yeah, just wanted to reiterate that if you have like any difficulty at any point, feel free to go on Discord and just file a TA ticket or just message in the Discord channel there. And yeah, one of our lovely TAs will be more than happy to assist you. Okay, so I hope everyone has made their changes, and I will, I guess I will add an exclamation mark here, and I will save my changes and go from there. So yeah, here is a fun trick that you can do that can help make your life easier. So you can stage and commit your changes at the same time by typing in git commit -am and whatever message you would like. Yeah, perfect. So our changes have been made. So once our changes have been made, we want to make sure that the code that we've worked on is merged into the main line of development. So we can just type in git merge main. And once we see that already up to date, we know that that change has been made. And then we will push our changes. So because our branch is only on our computer for now, we want to make that change bring that change up to the remote repository on GitHub. So we will need to use a special command, git push -u origin, and then the name of our branch. So for me, that would be feature. Okay, awesome. Let's just see if anything's been. Okay, so right now, if I check my GitHub, I have a golden box that pops up, which says compare and pull requests. So we're going to be talking about what exactly a pull request is now. So before you push to your main branch, you might want people on your team or other collaborators to review your code. And that is because you might have some issues in your code that you yourself might not have spotted, or maybe you haven't finished your code and it's incomplete. And of course, if those are true, then if you do push to the main branch, then you might break other people's code in the process, which is not a great idea at all. So after you push your new branch to the remote repository, as we did, you can create a pull request to merge it with main. So let's do that. So let's go back to our GitHub and click on compare and pull request that pops up. And you can click on, you can type in any comments that you want to make, but then you can create a pull request. Okay, so this is good. So it says that our branch has no conflicts with the main branch, with the base branch. So this is good. It means that merging can be performed automatically and we're all good to go. So, oh, and yes, we want to merge our pull request. And yeah, so now our pull request has been successfully merged and closed. And we can also delete our branch if we need to, because our branch has now been merged to the main branch, so we don't really need it, but we will not be doing that just yet. So we want to make sure that we get these updates on our local repo, of course, as well. So we will type in the command git pull origin main once we get back to VS Code. And yeah, so this essentially just helps us to make sure that we get a copy of the code back onto our local machine. Yes. Okay, so just briefly, I will go over some shortcuts and basic team workflow and also show you how to create a new repository on GitHub. Yeah, because a lot of you will probably be doing that as you progress through our the hackathon this weekend. So we will go back to our to github.com. And we will create a new repository on the top left-hand corner by clicking on the button. And we will, so I'm just going to create a new repository called Git 101.201. Okay. And you can name your repository whatever you like. And you want to make sure that you add a README file because you might want to describe what your project is and just create your repository. And again, really quickly, we want to go over how we would clone this new repository that we've made. So you can click on code, click on this link address over here, make sure it's HTTPS, and go back and to Visual Studio Code and clone it. Okay, awesome. So we have successfully cloned our repository. And yeah, if we do want to open our README file, we can do that. So we can open our file and yeah, we find our Git 101.201. We can open our file. So yeah, you will just go in and make sure that you are in the correct directory before you do so. So let's see where my folder is located. Okay, perfect. So again, if maybe you saved your file somewhere else, make sure that you do cd and wherever your file, whichever folder your file is. But otherwise, you should be good to go, and you can make the changes to your files on your new repository. So yeah, that is all from. Oh, and yeah, just really quickly, little graphic that has been created by Kristen Kwong about basic team workflow that you should probably have in mind for the hackathon. So you would do step 1, which we've already done, step 2, which we've already done too. And yeah, so step 3, so you work on something and you push with that command to your remote repository, make and merge, remember to make and merge your pull request, and everyone else's uses git pull to get the changes. And you just keep repeating steps 3 and 5 until the project is done. But yeah, for now, before we transition into Git 201, we will have a quick 5-minute break. So in case anyone's behind, we can get you caught up and up to speed. And it also serves as a break for my voice too. But yeah, Melvin will be taking over with Git 201 for the rest of the workshop. So yeah, that's all for me for now. So yeah, feel free to have a bathroom break, get a drink of water, all that stuff.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys had a nice 5-minute break. Can I get like a video and a mic check? Alrighty, sweet. So now we're gonna jump into the Git 201 portion of the workshop. All right, so for the schedule for the second half, we'll be going over rebasing, merge conflict resolution, merging versus rebasing, and reverting. And we'll actually be using the same repository that Victoria used in the first half of the workshop. And the reason how I have access to it is that in the GitHub settings, over here, in the repository settings, there's a settings tab here where you can add collaborators. And when you add collaborators, you add your collaborators' GitHub usernames. And then once you do that, GitHub will send an email to each of the collaborators you add, and it'll give them an option to collaborate with your repository. And if they choose accept the invite, then it'll redirect them to the repository and it'll have this message. I now have push access. And GitHub does this because they don't want like random people on the internet to be able to push new code to your private repository. So yeah, it is a safety mechanism. Alrighty, yeah. Going back to the schedule. Yeah, that's the second half schedule. So let's get into rebasing. So rebasing at a very high level is an alternative to merging. And it's used when you want to introduce changes from the main branch into your feature branch. So let's go over a demo. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually git clone the repository. So if I go to the repository again, if I hit code here, under HTTPS, I'm just going to copy this link. And if I go back to my terminal and my VS Code, I can do git clone, and then I can paste the link right here. Cloning into git 101, 201. And yeah, if I do a special command called ls, I can actually look at all the folders inside my programming folder. And I can see right here that git 101, 201 has been added. Now, you don't actually have to do this if you don't happen to have a collaborator on hand. You don't have to do this step. So, but what I need to do now is I need to change my directory into git 101.201. And then if I do a git status, it should, if this pops up, it just means that the folder is using Git. Git recognizes that it is a file that uses Git. So now I'm going to open it in VS Code. I'm just going to open it. This is just the default screen that VS Code gives me when I open the application. So I'm going to click open. And then I'm going to go to my folder, programming, git 101, 201. And I'm going to open it. And right here is a README file. And it just has git 101, 201 so far right now. So now that we've loaded our file, we can actually go through a rebase demo. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you recall from the first portion of the workshop, is I'm going to create a new branch. And I'm going to actually use a shortcut to create a new branch. I'm going to do git checkout. I'm going to use the B flag for branch. And I'm going to put the name of my branch, which for this, I'm going to call feature-1. If I do that, then what this command does is the B flag creates the branch, and then checkout switches me from the main branch into the feature-1 branch. And I can tell that I'm in the feature-1 branch. If you look here, this main turns into feature-1. That tells me I'm in the feature-1 branch. So let's say in the feature-1 branch, I make some changes. So I'm just going to make it really simple. I'm just going to do feature-1 changes. After I do feature-1 changes, I'm going to save the file with Control S or Command S. And you don't have to type feature one changes, but it can be just make any change. And after I save my file, I'm going to go back to my terminal. Oh yeah, yes again. The terminal is it's an external app. You can use the VS Code terminal, but I'm choosing to use this external terminal. It's called Terminal on Mac, but on Windows machines, it's called the command prompt or the Windows PowerShell. That's where I'm getting this external terminal. Otherwise, if you're in VS Code, you can always just use the terminal built in here. I just like using the external terminal since like I have more room and it looks cooler. So back to saving our changes. So again, if you remember from the first part of the workshop, to save our changes, we have to do a git add and then a dot. The dot basically means all the files that have been changed. So in this case, only the README file. We want to add them towards the staging process, the staging stage. So git add, and then we're going to do a git commit, and then we're just going to use the shortcut git commit all with the message of feature one changes. After that, it'll say, okay, feature one changes, one file changed, 3 insertions, 1 deletion. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now let's say that I'm done working on this feature. I'm ready to merge my feature to the main code, so the main branch. So this is where the rebase command comes in. So what I'm going to type is I'm going to do git rebase main, git rebase main. And what this will tell me is it'll say current branch feature one is up to date. That's what we like to see, because what this is saying is that there are no there's no conflicts between merging. So there's no code that's like changed in 2 different places. So after that, what I can do is I can do git push -u for the upstream. Upstream basically just means I want to bring my code from my local repository up to the remote repository. The remote repository is like seen as the cloud, so it's like above, and then your local is more like the ground. That's why it's like upstream with the flag. And then git push u origin, and then actually no, git push u origin, yes, and then the name of my branch, which is feature-1. And yeah, what that does, it says right here, it says create a pull request. What I essentially just did is I took my local branch, my feature-1 branch, and I basically just sent that branch up to the remote repository. So if I look in the remote repository, right here, my feature-1 branch is right here, and GitHub conveniently asked me to compare and pull request. So I'm just going to do just that, compare pull request, feature-1 changes. I'm happy with that. Create pull request. Checking. Yep, no merge conflicts. Merge the pull request. Confirm merge. This part is just basically just clicking green buttons until the purple merge button comes up. Then you're good. And now we can delete the branch remotely. Deleting the branch is fine because you usually want to only merge a pull request once you know that it's passed all the tests. So that's why the branch can be deleted. And we can delete the branch. And we can also restore it to if we need it. So if we look in our main code, we can see our feature-1 changes have been reflected in the GitHub remote repository. But then our local repository, let's see, if we go back, if we git checkout back to our main branch, our feature-1 changes aren't reflected here yet. That's because we need to use a special command, and that special command is git pull. What git pull does is it pulls all the new changes from the remote repository and it pulls it to your local repository. So when I press enter, git pull, it pulls the new changes, and now the new changes are inside my README file locally. which is great. And that is Rebase in a nutshell. And usually once we're finished with a pull request and like making a feature, we also, because we like delete the branch remotely, we also want to delete the branch locally. To delete the branch locally, what we do is we, inside the master branch, so I'm in the main branch, sorry, not master. I can do git branch with the D flag. D flag stands for delete, and then the name of my feature branch, so feature 1. And what that does is it deletes the feature branch, delete branch feature 1. So now if I do branch or git branch, I only have the main branch because the other feature 1 branch was deleted. And if I go back to my slides, that is rebasing. And there's another cool feature about rebasing where you can actually rewrite your history, and specifically rewrite your commit history. But with this power comes great responsibility. We only want to use this rewriting history feature that comes with Rebase only to rewrite our local history, because if we're working in like a big company and like it's like a massive code database, if we rewrite the commit history locally, it's going to be very hard to undo that. And then if you do something wrong, you could create some very big oopsies in the big company code database. And basically, when we run this command to git rebase, it'll also open a built-in editor called the Vim editor, which we'll see later, where you can actually edit your commit history. So let's go through a demo of that. Git rebase, rewriting history. Alrighty, so back in the VS Code editor, my terminal, I'm gonna make sure I'm in the main branch. So I'm in the main branch. I'm going to do the shortcut again, git checkout with the B flag, but this time I'm gonna call it feature-2, my feature 2 branch. So this creates a feature 2 branch and switches me into it. If we look here, I'm in feature 2 branch, creates a copy of the main branch. And then this time, let's just do feature 2. But then let's say like I'm careless. I accidentally, I'm not paying attention to my typing and I accidentally make a typo, but I don't know that I made a typo. And then I accidentally commit it. So like git commit am, this is the shortcut for committing, for adding and committing. And let's say I just do feature 2 changes. And then let's say I go back and I like take another scan at my code. I'm like, this line doesn't look right. So let's say I fix up the typo, feature 2 changes. And then I commit it, of course. So I'm just going to do the same commit message, feature 2 changes. And now the typo has disappeared. But the thing is, back here in our commit history, we have a commit dedicated to just writing a typo and fixing a typo. And then sometimes that, like, if you're like in a professional setting, sometimes you don't want your coworkers or your teammates to see that you made a really simple typo error and need to dedicate a whole commit to solving it. So what we can actually do is we can run git rebase with this I flag. I flag just means interactive main. And if we do that, it opens this Vim editor that I was talking about. So on first glance, it looks pretty scary, but we're really only using like 3 commands in this list, which are pick, reword, and fix up. So the next thing I'm going to do once you like are in this Vim editor is press I. I lets you go into insert mode. Insert mode basically is like you can change your commit history. And up here, these 2 are the commits that I've made on my feature 2 branch. So if we remember correctly, this first commit is my typo commit, and this second commit here is the commit that fixes that typo. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the pick here to a fix up. So this pick will be changed into a fix up. And what fix up does is it takes this commit over here and it combines it with this commit up here, so that if we look back in the commit history, we'll never actually see this first commit ever be made. And then the two other common commands we use are pick. Pick basically just means use this commit in the commit history, and reword means reword the commit message of this commit. And let's say we are done. This is the only change I'm going to make. I'm going to hit colon. Oh, no, not here. Oh, I need to hit escape to get out of insert mode. And then I'm going to hit colon WQ to exit the Vim editor. And what it'll say here is what we like to see: successfully rebased and updated my feature 2 branch. So now let's say my feature 2 branch is finished. I can now combine it with the main code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a git push -u for upstream, u origin, and then the name of my branch, which is feature -2. Again, this pushes my local branch to the remote repository. There we go, and it gives me another prompt to create a pull request, which is exactly what we are going to do. Oh, I think I lost my tabs. Oops. Oh, never mind. It's right here. Okay, if we go back to our GitHub repository, we can see that feature 2 has had recent pushes less than a minute ago, and we can create a pull request. So we're going to do just that. So we're create the pull request, and yep, we can merge it. We're going to merge the pull request. We're going to confirm the merge, and now we can delete the branch. And yeah, if we look at the commits in our branch, we only see one commit in here. And this one commit, if we look a bit closer, we can see is just feature 2 changes. We don't see that like gibberish that I typed in the typo. So git rebase essentially just rewrote my commit history, which is really nice. And if I look at my code, we can see the changes here too. So feature 2 changes. And again, because I've made changes in the remote repository, I have to pull those changes in my local repository. So I'm going to go back to my terminal. I'm going to do git checkout main, which switches me back to the main branch. And the feature 2 changes don't show up, so I need to pull those changes. Git pull. There are my feature 2 changes, and then now I can delete the feature 2 branch because I no longer need it. So again, the command is git branch -d for delete, and the name of the branch, which is feature -2. And the feature 2 branch is now deleted. Okay, let's go back to the slides. That is rewriting history. Okay, actually let's get a speed check because I want to see if I'm like going too fast or too slow. And yeah, I'll give a minute for everyone to see if they have any questions. You can drop them in the Zoom chat or the Discord chat. And also I need water. Okay, cool. It looks like we're going at a pretty good speed. So okay, we'll continue. So the next topic we're going to talk about are merge conflicts. So merge conflicts occur when changes are made to the same file in 2 different branches or in like 2 different locations anywhere. Like if 2 people are like collaborating and then they're like working on the same file, they make changes to the file and then they both push those changes into the main branch, Git doesn't know which branch and which changes to accept and which ones to forget. So then it will prompt the user to choose what changes are kept. And we'll see a demo of both of these. So if I go to my VS Code again, let's say I want to create a new branch. So I'm going to do git checkout with the branch key, and then we'll do feature 3 this time. Git checkout feature 3, and then now I'm in the feature 3 branch. And let's say I make some, oh, we didn't want to do that. Let's say I make some feature 3 changes. Cool. I save the file, and then now I need to commit the files and save them. Feature 3 changes. And now that I've saved the changes, and now let's say that like I'm ready to merge my feature 3 branch into the main branch, but let's say that someone else makes changes to the main branch while I'm making changes to the feature branch. And we, lucky for us, we do have that someone else. So Victoria will be making changes to the main branch by essentially, she'll do it off screen, but essentially what she's doing is she's just making like a change. It could be as simple as like, oh, code changes. And then what she's doing is she's committing it and then just pushing it to the remote repository. And then what happens is the remote repository is then updated. And then we should see that be reflected on the GitHub. So if I just keep refreshing, we should see changes. And if you're doing it on a, if you don't have a partner, what you can do is instead do a git checkout to main. And then what you can do is you can make changes on your own within the main branch and then commit those changes and push those changes. You can do it manually, but I think it's a little bit more clear if there's like multiple people, multiple collaborators working on the same project. So if I git checkout back into my branch feature -3, let's see. Oh, the changes. I guess we can still wait for the changes. But yeah, usually when you're like collaborating, especially if you're doing it for the first time, it's pretty easy to forget to git pull when you are making changes. Like every time you push code, regardless, you want to pull the new changes first. Feature 2 changes. Yeah, sometimes Git can take a while to load the new changes. Yeah, it appears that we're having some technical difficulties with the Git pushing. But you know, that's okay. This is exactly what happens when you're collaborating with Git. It can get really messy, especially if like you're doing it for the first time. Because I remember when I was learning like Rebase and all this stuff, it was like a lot for me to handle. It took me quite a while to actually get used to it. So okay, well, okay, so we'll go with our backup plan. So our backup plan is I'm gonna go get checkout to main. So just pretend that I'm like Victoria's computer right now. So I'm on her screen and I'm doing okay, get checkout main, and it doesn't see my feature 3 changes because Victoria doesn't know that I'm working right now. So let's say, oh, I make some code changes to main branch, and then I save them, and then I commit these changes. So let's do like code changes to main branch, commit them, and then I push them to the remote repository. So code changes to main branch. If I look at the repository now, code changes to main branch. So let's say Victoria pushed those changes. Now I'm over here in my branch, my feature 3 branch, and I'm just making my changes. I don't know that there's actually changes that have been made to the main code. So I'm just going to do a git merge main because I think that there's no conflicts. But then if I press enter, oh no, there's these like arrows and like this capital head thing. And yeah, this is what VS Code and Git is calling like a merge conflict. Basically, it's saying that, oh, this is the current change that we're trying to make on this branch, and this is the incoming change on main. And then they're both changing the same file. So I don't know which changes to accept and which ones to forget. In this case, I'm just gonna accept both of them. And then I'm gonna save the file. It even says here, fix the conflicts, which I just did, and then commit the result. So I'm just gonna do a git commit -a this time, because if I do -a, it'll open this Vim editor again. And then this Vim editor will provide me this special commit message already. And this will be very important later in the workshop. But for now, we can just do a :WQ to exit this Vim editor. We accept it, and it says merge branch main into feature 3. And what I can do after, I can git push u origin feature -3. Again, pushing my branch from local to remote. And then right here, it says feature 3 had recent pushes less than a minute ago. Let's compare and pull request. Create the pull request. There are my 2 commits. That's the merge commit, that with the special message appearing right there. Merge the pull request, confirm the merge, and let's delete the branch. Now, if I look at my code, this is the main code on the remote repository. We can see that my feature 3 changes were reflected, and the changes that were made from Victoria's computer were also reflected here as well, which is pretty cool. But then now, each member would have to do a git pull, because the main code base, the remote repository, the code there is now different than the local repository. So I go git checkout main. If we see here, it says feature 3 changes, code changes to main branch. If we look back in my VS Code, it only says code changes to main branch. I need to do a git pull. Oh. And there are my feature 3 changes. Cool. And now I can delete the branch. Git branch delete feature -3. Cool. Okay. Now that was a lot. That was merge conflicts with merge. Now we're gonna go into Git rebase and how we can solve conflicts using rebase. So I'm gonna do the same thing again. I can do it a bit faster. Oh, didn't want to click that. So what I can do is I can do git branch. Oh no, not git branch. Git checkout -branch. We'll call it feature 4 this time. And then let's say I'm making feature 4 changes. And I commit these changes. Feature 4 changes. Yay. And then again, let's say that I'm Victoria, I'm on her computer. I go back to my main branch. The feature 4 changes aren't viewed here. And let's say we make more changes, main branch. And then I commit this, more changes to main branch. And then I push it. Alrighty, so that's from, we're still pretending that's from Victoria's computer. Now I'm back in my computer, I'm back in my branch feature-4. And then I don't see the more changes again. And then let's just say I just want to try rebasing. I don't think there's any conflicts. I do a git rebase main. There we go. We see the green and blue again. All right, and then now, if we look at the terminal, it's the message it gives us is a little different. What it says, what it wants us to do is first resolve all conflicts manually. We're going to just quickly do that. Just accept both changes, save the file. If we look back at what it wants me to do, I add all the files first. So I'm going to do git add with the dots. And afterwards, I use this special keyword, the special command, git rebase with -- continue. So do git rebase -- continue. This is just me following along with what Git wants me to do. It then opens the Vim editor and it gives me this special commit message, feature-4 changes. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to quit the Vim editor with :WQ. And it says successfully rebased and updated the refs or my feature-4 branch. And again, I'm just going to push this branch from my local repository to the remote repository. And if I look at the repository and we see feature-4, how convenient. I can pull request, create the pull request. The feature-4 changes, merge the pull request, confirm the merge. And I can delete the branch and I can look back at my code. I can see that, again, more changes to main branch. Oh, no, more changes to main was the changes to main. And then the feature-4 changes was from my branch. And again, all the members, because the remote repository has changed its code, have to pull these new changes, or else there will be even more merge conflicts. If I go back to my main branch, I need to do a git pull. Actually, let's just see that I do not see feature-4 changes, so I need to do a git pull. There are my feature-4 changes, hooray. And then again, because I'm done with the feature-4 branch, I can also delete it. So git branch delete feature-4. Cool. Deleted the feature branch. And that is merge conflicts with git merge and git rebase. Alrighty, so that was like the application of it. Now we're gonna go into the theory, the fun part of merge versus rebase. So first thing I'm going to do is introduce these two diagrams, which we borrowed from Atlassian. We have a great tutorial that goes a bit deeper in merging versus rebasing, but it uses a lot of big brain words. But on the left here is essentially like a diagram of what exactly happens when you call git merge main. And then on the right side is a diagram of what happens when you call git rebase main. So just looking at both diagrams, the legend up here is like the white circles are like the old main branch before any changes have been made. The blue circles are changes that have been made to the main branch while like by other developers, while like you were working on commits in like a feature branch, which is represented by like a green branch, or green circles here, sorry. And looking at main, how main actually works when we are looking at merge, how merge actually works is in here, in the feature branch, it looks at the last commit in the feature branch, and then it looks at the last commit in the main branch. So it looks at this circle, this blue circle, it looks at this last green circle. And then it compares the two changes and it says, oh, if there's any merge conflicts, solve them. Otherwise, just let the merge happen. That's what happens on the left side. On the right side, when we call rebase, we can already automatically see that the structure is different. We'll elaborate on that soon. But what git rebase, how it works is that once we call this command, git pretends that all the work that you've done on this feature branch never happened. It never happened. And then what it does, it takes the old main branch, so the white circles over here, then it adds the new changes to the main branch, which are the blue circles. And then lastly, it adds your changes on the feature branch. Specifically, it adds each commit on the feature branch one at a time. And that's how like git rebase works. And in like a further pros versus cons table, looking at the merging pros already is like, it's easier to understand conceptually. And it's also simpler to merge branches and solve conflicts, as we saw. Like looking here, all we have to do to solve this conflict is compare this and compare this. If there's any conflict, solve them once. Otherwise, just merge it. We're good to go. The pros of rebasing, we have more control over our commit history. Like for example, we could actually rewrite our commit history using rebase and the -i flag. And we have a cleaner and linear commit history. So again, this is like a line. It's like a line here, where this is like, it's almost like parallel. Here, because it's a line, the pro of that is that like, let's say like an outsider was looking at your project and they were looking at your commit history. Each commit in the straight line builds off of the previous commit, and they're always related, which just makes it a bit more easier to understand what changes were made during like each commit. And the last thing is there's no extra commits. Now this is a big one. No extra commit, a big one in terms of like, it's very hard to understand. So if we look at git merge main, we can see that there's 4 circles, and there's one circle with a star, like an asterisk. This asterisk means that like a commit was made. And then if we look at the rebase, there's 3 circles with 3 asterisks. So the scenario we're going to use is with, let's say that there's a conflict that we have to solve. And looking in git merge main, again, what it does, it takes the last commit of the green and the last commit of the blue, and it compares them. But then again, if you remember, it creates an extra commit with that special commit message that just says that I am combining the main branch with the feature branch. That's all. That's a complete commit dedicated to just saying that. That's what this extra commit here is. Looking at the rebase, if there is a merge conflict over here, let's say that it's already added, git rebase has already added the blue circles to the white circles, and right now it's here, and it's comparing this last blue circle to the first green circle. And let's say that there is a merge conflict. That merge conflict will occur for each one of these commits, meaning that when rebase compares the last blue circle with the first green circle, it'll prompt the user to solve that conflict with VS Code, and then afterwards it'll add that first green circle to the main branch. And then after that, it then looks at the first green circle that's already been merged and like the conflicts have been solved, and it compares it with this second green circle. And this second green circle has not been merged yet, so this will create another conflict that you have to solve. And that's represented by these like stars here. Like that's why there's like a merge conflict solved here, a merge conflict solved here, and another merge conflict solved here. That's the difference. And then this sometimes can be like a bit more work. We can actually see this, like the difference this in the commits if we look at our commit history and our pull requests. So if I look at pull requests over here, and I look at the closed pull request, if I take a look at the feature 4 changes, and I take a look at the feature 3 changes, again, recall that the feature 3 changes was the branch where I made git merge, and the feature 4 changes is where I did a git rebase. We can see that over here, there's 2 commits. This is the merge branch. There's my number 1 commit, which is like completely related. And then there's this commit that just says merge branch main into feature 3. And then if we look at our rebase, we can see that there's only 1 commit here, feature 4 changes, only 1. And that's basically what this is. But like there's only like 2 commits here and 1 commit here. That's basically what it looks like what we just did. So going back, so merge cons, again, it's that extra commit dedicated to just saying that there's a merge. Sometimes, depending on the person, they can see that this merge can be seen as like polluting the commit history, like it's not needed, but that's depending on like the company practices. And the rebasing cons, the cons are that like overall, it's more difficult to understand as we just witnessed. And merging branches can get, and solving these conflicts can get pretty complex. Alrighty, that was merging versus rebasing. It was a lot. Again, if you have any questions and any clarifications, just feel free to just drop it in the chat or the Discord server. All right, we're gonna move on to the next topic, which is reverting. Reverting is a lot easier than rebasing versus merging, but essentially what reverting does is it does the opposite of a commit. It undoes a commit with another commit. So for this, we're going to use 2 commands. The first command is git log. Git log basically just produces a list of all the previous commits that were made on the repository. And then it'll take the commit hash, which we'll see later, and it'll basically just revert the commit with that commit hash. So I think it'll make a lot more sense when I actually demo it. So let's go through the demo. Okay, I'm gonna do this in the main branch. So let's say, for example, I'm gonna check that I'm in the main branch just to be sure. And I'm gonna say that I'm up to date. So I'm gonna do a git pull. I'm already up to date, which is good. Always wanna double check that. And I'm gonna do let's say I make a change. Let's say I make a change that destroys everything. Like I have like a bug that destroys everything, but I don't know that it does that. And then let's say I commit that without knowing. So I just make, oh, okay, code changes. And then I push this change, not knowing that it destroys everything. Push it. And then, uh-oh, now I look, suddenly everything's not working. All the servers are shut down. There's people screaming, there's fires everywhere. So the first thing you do is deep breath, you calm down. The second thing you do is you type in git log. Git log will produce like a log of all the commits that you've done. And here's the commit hash I was talking about right here, just like a string of just like hexadecimal values, but like in plain English, it's just a bunch, it's just a number. It's a number. And then what we're gonna do is we find the culprit. So it's this one. And we're gonna Command C or Control C, we're gonna copy this commit hash. And then we're gonna scroll all the way back down. We're gonna press Q to quit this log to get out of it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna type git revert, and then we're gonna paste this commit hash. And then I'm gonna press enter. And what it's gonna do is gonna produce this Vim editor again. It'll tell me, okay, this is the commit message that we want you to use, and I'm gonna be happy with it. So I'm gonna do :WQ because I'm happy with it. And then there you go, revert code changes. And I'm gonna push these changes to the remote repository. Push. Okay, let's see the changes on the remote repository. So if I go to code, let's see. Okay, if we look at the commit history here, we can see that the change that destroyed everything, that line never shows up here, which is good. It means everything was saved. But if we look at our commit history here, we can see the culprit right here, code changes. So yeah, right here, I make a change that destroys everything. So you can fix it, but you can't ever erase this stain from the history of the commit history. But if we look at the code changes here that it reverts it, we can see that it does the exact opposite thing as the previous commit. and that is basically just let's get reverts. Pretty much easier to digest than the merging versus rebasing. Alrighty. All right, stamps. Stamps. We've actually now reached the end of our workshop. That was a very long journey, 101 and get 201, but I hope that you've enjoyed it. And yeah, the stamps will be released in the Get 101, 201 banter channel. And essentially what stamps are basically chances to win a raffle prize, because the more stamps that you collect means the more chances that you have at winning a raffle prize. So go ahead and just react to the message, the factotum bot message in the channel. And other than that, we can answer some quick questions if there are any, but I'm just looking at the time. There is a team formation event that's occurring in, I think, at 8:45. So if you wanted to hop to that, you can. But we'll be here. We can answer some questions if you have any. Questions can be about anything. Don't necessarily have to be related, but better if they are. So you can ask them in the Zoom chat or in the Discord channel. Oh, wow. 13 reacts to the stamps. I wonder if I can react yet. Don't think I can.
Yeah, just wanted to add that I believe the team formation mixer is happening right now. So if anyone wants to hop on over, feel free to.
Yeah. It doesn't look like there's too many questions, which is good, which means that you guys understand everything. But if you do have any questions, if they come up, you can feel free to ask in the banter channel, or you can feel free to DM any of the TAs or the workshop leads. And other than that, we hope that you've had a great time at the Get 101, 201 workshop. We hope that you have a great rest of your night. And we hope that you have a great NW hacks. We want to see your projects. See you